What's up, gamers? We've got another realm video. You probably know the drill by now, but today we're talking about Tian. They are probably one of my favorite realms in all of Godforge and have my favorite hero in the whole game so far. So, of course, we're going to talk about rares. We're going to talk about epics. We're going to talk about legendaries. We've got to get into some of the lore, as we've done for every realm. And honestly, there's a lot of really cool, interesting bits to come out of all of it that we've heard so far. We did Aru last week. If you missed that one, you can click up in the top right corner and view that video. And we're going to do Izumo next week. We're at 7 of 9. So we've got 2 more left after this. And we're going to get through all 9. And hopefully by the end of it, you'll get a lot better understanding of not only Tian, but all the realms kind of from a story perspective and from a hero perspective. So without further ado, let's jump in. All right, and we have to start with the lore. So, of course, we're going to talk about some story things going on in Tian. And one thing I took away from pretty much a lot of their story paragraphs is that the divine bureaucracy is very slow, and seems like it's gonna cause a lot of issues, or at least a lot of discontent with the heroes and the legends and the myths in Tian. But we know that Sun Wukong, as you can imagine, he's loving this new reality. He's going to all different realms. He's creating problems and tricking people from all over. So that's should be fun to watch or see in the game. We've got Chan Yi, who's on the moon helping people of Tian. So that's pretty cool. We've got Sun Tzu, who actually noticed Odysseus. So in one of our other videos, we talked about how Odysseus was trying to gain attention from Tian. Well, he did. So he's going to make a contact to create an alliance, hopefully, with them. And then one of the most interesting things I saw was in Lubu's. They're seeking someone to help them take down Tian. And he approached Ninurta from Ecker. So we haven't done Ecker yet, but we will soon. But now Lilith has him in on her schemes. We haven't heard about Lilith isn't in the game. So I'm really curious what that means and how that kind of unfolds and when we're going to get to see Lilith moving forward. From a hero roster perspective, Tian looks pretty filled out and pretty balanced across the board. They've got 5 legendaries, 6 epics, and 6 rares. We pretty much have all archetypes represented in each one of them, or most of them. But then when we look down at the rares, you can see that we've got every archetype, but we've got 2 slayers, which is pretty good. And the rare that I really want to look at is Diao Chen. Now, she is an eternal rare. She's also a disruptor and aligns with order. What is really cool about her as we get into her abilities is her charm disable or charm debuff, because we don't see that a lot. So on her basic, she attacks one enemy and decreases the target's divinity by 10%. If the target is under charm, we'll steal divinity instead. And with the new change to faith, uh, when a hero gets attacked, they gain a little bit of faith, or what was known as initiative, and this brings it down a little bit. So it kind of counteracts that, which is cool. On her core, she places charm on the target for 3 turns, then decreases the divinity of all enemies by 15%. If the target's divinity falls below 10%, then place sleep on the target for 2 turns. So we've got a ability that can turn into a disable, which is pretty cool. On her ultimate, she attacks one enemy 3 times. Each hit decreases the target's turn meter by 5%. If the target is under charm, decrease the turn meter of all enemies instead. So now we've got turn meter reduction. So pretty good, of course, as a disruptor. And then for her passive, when an enemy under charm has their turn meter or divinity increased, this hero gains the same amount. So she's keeping up with any buffs that they're doing for turn meter and divinity. And overall, looks like a really cool hero that you can get pretty easily as a rare. When you look at the epics of Tian, that's really where they make up for the lack of invokers in other areas. So we've got 2 slayers in legendaries, 2 slayers in rares, but we have 2 defenders and 2 invokers in epics. So again, looks like a really solid crew overall. But we're gonna dive into Lo Shen specifically. So they are an invoker, eternal, affinity, and also align with order. So when we look at them, they attack one enemy and place Vanish on this hero for 1 turn as their basic. And for their core, they place Speed Up 2 and Stalwart on all allies for 2 turns. Now, if Hoi Yi is on the team, increase the duration to 3, and these buffs cannot be removed for that hero. And then for their ultimate, they increase the duration of all buffs on all allies by 1 turn, and decrease the duration of all debuffs on all allies by 1 turn. So the opposite of Morgan's passive, and they're an eternal legendary, is being done right here on a epic. And then increase each increase each ally turn meter by 3% for each buff and debuff duration that is changed. So we've got a lot of buffs and debuffs on your team. They're all going to go after they after she does her ultimate because they're going to get a lot of turn meter boost from that. And then for her passive, at the end of this hero's turn, increase the turn meter of the ally with the lowest turn meter by 10%. So overall, an awesome epic hero to pull, especially because of that ultimate with the buff extension and the debuff decrease. Now, as we move into the legendaries, you're probably going to think I'm going to talk about Sun Wukong because he is my favorite hero in all of Tian and all of the game. He's got an awesome kit. I've covered it multiple times now. So you can see in the top right, not only do we have Sun Wukong video that we did just for him when his kit leaked to content creators, but we also did another video where I talked about different builds for different legendary heroes that you might have picked in the mini game, and he was one of them. So we covered him there too. So I'm not going to go over Sun Wukong in this video. Instead, I'm going to go talk about Mulan because she is another Slayer. She is Cunning Affinity and she aligns with Order. But her kit came out kind of underwhelming, I think, for a lot of people. And I'm not going to go over her multipliers because we don't know if that's what they're going to be long term because they're going to continue to make passes. But when we go over kit, the one thing I want to mention is that single target attack and heroes is something that was being underutilized when they were playtesting the game. At least that's what they said, the Fateless team. So one of the ways I think what they did with Faith, where it says if the enemy gets attacked, they gain a little bit of divinity. I think that's one way to try and mix up or balance with single target heroes and the AOE attackers like Herc, for example, where he's doing AOE on his basic. So Mulan and other single target attackers might be more viable, especially when you don't want your enemy to gain divinity. So let's go over her kit because on her basic, she attacks one enemy 2 times. Critical attacks reduce the target's defense by 2%, stacking up to 10 times, which is great. On her core, she attacks one enemy, increases the damage inflicted by 10% for each living enemy, plays Vanish on this hero for 2 turns. So if you're doing 5v5, that's a lot of extra damage. It's what is 50%, or is it every living enemy beyond just one? That'd be 40%. Still a lot of boosted damage there on the core. On the ultimate, they attack one enemy 3 times. Each hit has a 40% chance to place Drain 2 and Hex on the target for 2 turns. If the target is defeated, decrease this hero's divinity cost by 10%, stacking up to 3 times. So easier for her to get her ultimate if she can kill someone. And then for her passive, she increases the chance to strong hit by 20% when inflicting damage under Vanish. Now, yes, she does give Vanish on her core to herself, but there's other heroes in TN that can also place Vanish. So you should be able to keep that up uh, forever. So again, Mulan seems like a much stronger hero than maybe initially thought, especially with the changes to Faith and the divinity ticks that they get from that. Now we're going to head over to ravenpyros.com like usual and build our all rares team. Now we already kind of did a version of this with one of my last videos where we talked about Sun Wukong and what team you should build around him, which was an all TN team because of his joined attack when a TN ally attacks. But we're going to take him out, obviously. We're going to put in another rare. And what we see is very similar to what we saw in that build because we have Guan Yu, we have Chen Yi, we have Diao Chen, we've got Shishi, and we've got Ma Chao. Now, when we look at that as a whole, we've got a lot of damage coming out, especially with Guan Yu and Ma Chao. But we've also got a basic of healing with Chen Yi and the protect and the shield from Shishi. So you're going to get a lot of survivability. And then you get some manipulation of turn meter and divinity, along with some disable and charm and some, debuff in charm and disable with some sleep from Diao Chen. So overall, really balanced team. I think you could get really far in a lot of content that you have in the game to conquer with this group because of their balance and because of the damage they bring. So yeah, overall, very solid rares team. So that is it. Another week, another realm. We got through TN. Don't forget that next week is going to be Izumo. So if you don't want to miss that, don't forget to subscribe. Also, don't forget to go to fateless.gg so that you can sign up for the beta so you can get your hands on the game starting as early as next month as we jump into the beta. Well, until late next time, I'm Brad with BradBodGaming. I will talk to you later.